information or opinions expressed by the host, co-host, and or guests on this podcast do not necessarily represent or reflect the views of our company, our sponsors, and advertisers. Please consult your attorneys, CPA, or business owners, advisors before making any business decision. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's Coach Jay here, Small Business Stand Up, and we have an amazing entrepreneur. You guys already know her. It's Allahme Dixon. What's going on, Allahme?
Hi, how are you, Jay?
Hey, we're doing great. And I see that credit 909 is still going down, huh? So
that's right.
That's how's business for you?
Business is busy, really busy. I have I'm bringing on new clients. It's amazing because I have a lot of entrepreneurs that are signing up to get their businesses established and their businesses structured. So we've been really busy with that.
Yeah. So do you see, like, in this troubled time that we're in right now, do you see a lot of people really trying to get their credit together now, or people just saying it is what it is right now?
Well, you always have people that's interested in getting their credit, their personal credit, straight. And you always have individuals, and you have those peaks during the year when it's busier. Sometimes they're busier than the other. But for the most part, you have random people that you don't even know. They see your advertisement and they hit you up. But it's been really busy, and I'm blessed. But it's been really busy with entrepreneurs establishing their business. And that's a good thing, because like I always mention, I see a lot of entrepreneurs in networking events. I meet them all the time, and they're using their money to fund their business. And, I'm a stickler. Don't do that. Don't use your personal money to fund your business. And so it's a good thing that I have a lot of clients that's coming on to get their businesses established.
Yeah. Are you seeing people with really ugly credit, or is it kind of just on the other side of?
Oh, no, it ain't on the other side. It's horrible.
It's not there.
No, it's horrible. I'm talking horrible, like 130 inquiries. Yeah.
So
16 collection, 35 charge-offs. Excuse me?
You guys are able to attack that and get that done?
Yeah, but here's the thing to that. And this is what I tell them up front. When you have all negative accounts on your credit and you don't have no positive accounts on your credit, I'm being very honest with you, chances are nothing's going to happen. You got to show some type of credibility. You just can't have all accounts on your credit reports that are derogatory accounts. Come on now. Yeah. And I get them. I get clients or prospects that will hit me up, and they tell me one thing, and once I pull their credit, it's like, really, I mean, they don't have not one positive account on their credit. And the equal system, or the Oscar system, is not going to look at it like something is wrong on their credit. So there's a lot of different tactics that we use. We have to go through, do analysis. I have my credit attorneys to go through and look at the credit reports and see if there's any violations on the credit reports, and then we'll attack it that way. But it takes a lot of work if you have any items on there and you don't have any positive accounts.
Okay, so we definitely gonna dive into that a little bit more. Breeze, what's up, Breeze?
How you doing, Allahme? And
hi, Breeze.
How y'all feeling today?
Great. How are you?
Ready to be alive, man.
I'm tired as a one-legged kangaroo in a kickboxing contest, but I'm all right.
You be having some sayings, but I'll be like, that just tells me that you've been around, you've seen some stuff,
Oh yeah, that's that old school talk.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Man, let me tell you, I'm so old. I got a 3-digit social security number.
Is it 1, 2, and 3? So, how's your weekend? How's your week going so far, man?
Hey, every day is a blessing, man. Every day is a blessing. This is what I learned a long time ago from the old people. They said life comes down to one thing, and that's perspective. When you meet somebody and they say their life is messed up, that's their perspective. That's because they see it that way. You can see it a different way. You choose to be happy. You choose to be unhappy. So I'm always happy and I'm always blessed, brother. Always.
You know, I've seen a person, man, who had no arms and no legs, but he was smiling.
Oh, ain't no doubt.
Yeah, and I've seen a person who had it all, but was mad at everybody, man.
That's right.
You know, so what the statement you just made is so true. It's so true.
That's right.
It's about perspective. That's what it's about, man. Like when I see somebody in the morning or whatever the case is, like, you know, how you doing? What I'm like, man, I'm happy to be alive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of my homeboys. They gone. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, I know because I know a lot of your homeboys.
I'm happy to be here, man. You know, so that's pretty big, man. So
you know what they say. You know what they say. Money brings problems. The more money, the more problems, right? So that's why you see individuals that have it all and miserable.
Now wait a minute, Allahme. I don't
situation like that.
Now hold on, Allahme. I don't know about that because the guy that said that might have had problems, but I ain't never associated money with problems.
So tell me, why did they say that though? Because I've heard that a lot, man, in my life though. So
from my perspective, I'm going to say it's the envy and the jealousy. Now, from that perspective, that's what I'm talking about. The backstabbing. And so those are the problems, the unnecessary problems that you have to endure.
Okay, and this is my answer to that. I think the people that say the more money, the more problems are people who don't understand responsibility. So they see responsibility as problems. Because when you got a lot of money, you got a responsibility. You're taking care of your family, or you're taking care of your business, or you're taking care of your community, or whatever. And like Allahme said, there will be people coming at you. When you got a lot of money, you got people coming at you begging. You got people coming at you. Maybe they'll try to rob you. Maybe to kidnap you. I mean, it's a whole lot that goes with having money. But it's only a problem if you don't understand that with great power comes great responsibility. And if you understand responsibility, then you can flow. Because, I mean, we all know some wealthy people who live great lives. They didn't have no whole bunch of problems. Bob Hope, you know what I'm saying? A whole bunch of people. But then you look at some that had great power, great wealth, and they got Harvey Weinstein. Mike Tyson went to prison. Bill Cosby went to prison. Martha Stewart, R. Kelly. They even came after Michael Jackson, the friendliest dude on the planet. So I personally, I welcome wealth, but I also know that with this wealth comes responsibility. And I gotta brace myself and be prepared to know how to handle it. And if I know how to handle that responsibility, it ain't no problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Great wealth comes with responsibility. You said a mouthful when you said that, man. It's so true. And a lot of us are very with the ear prepared for that. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Casey and Danielle.
Hey. Hello, how are you? What's everyone doing?
All right. Welcome. Yes, so a lot of people, when you first become an entrepreneur, right, whether you have it or not, right, your perception to other people is as if you have it. So when they come to you and ask you for something, you tell them you can't. You got stuck up, and you stepping on a little man now, and this, that, and other. So it is a lot of responsibility, man, when you become an entrepreneur. So that's so true. That's so true.
Yes, for sure.
So Danielle, how was I guess you would say Monday. Now, how's the beginning of your week started? And tell us a little bit about your Monday.
I'm having a bit of a rough week, but I'm trudging through it. But that's more like personal side, not business side. Business is doing fine, but not every day is gonna be sunshine and rainbows. So you just gotta keep moving.
That's so true. What's up, KC?
Yo, how's it going? Can you guys hear me?
Good. Yeah, I can see you. Good to see you again, bro.
Absolutely. Thank you.
How's your week going so far? Yes, sir. How's your week going so far?
We're going very well. Very busy, but going very well.
Okay, excellent. What's up, Sheila? How are you?
I'm doing well. How is everyone?
It's a good day
Hi,
to be alive.
Sheila.
Hey.
Oh, woke up on the right side of the dirt.
You're winning. You're definitely winning. Absolutely. Well, listen, man. I'm glad to see you guys first and foremost. I know you guys affecting the world by being alive, right? And now, put on top of the stuff that you guys do for your business and for the world, you add to the world, man. So the world will give it back to you 100-fold, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and kick this thing off here. You guys have any comment or something you want to talk about before we get started?
Go ahead, hit us with the questions, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this thing. So what is the number one thing you wish you would do better in business? Don't put yourself out there. It's got to be one thing you can say, look, if I can do this better, I can take this thing to the next level.
I'll start off by saying absolutely nothing.
Figured that was coming.
He said, no, he didn't say nothing. He said absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. There's nothing I can do. Nothing I can do better, simply because I invested my entire life in making enough mistakes so that I could perfect what I do now. So,
Yeah, that's a good perspective.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sheila.
Yes, we bring it back to the rest of the folks.
Well, I mean, we said Sheila, so I guess let me answer. What is the number one thing you wish you were better at in business? I just say, as a serial entrepreneur, I think that I wish I was more committed to one thing. I think that my mind, more focused. I feel like in the beginning that hindered me a lot because I was always starting like new projects and never really executed what I had started. Now, as a consequence of that, like Bree said, I learned a lesson. I did this, it's called an assessment. It's called the something assessment. And the guy, E.T. Eric Thomas, he actually says what kind of personality you are. Are you the pilot? It's called a flight assessment. That's what it's called. And it's like, are you the pilot? Are you the grounds crew? Are you the air control personality? Or are you what's the people that's in the plane that kind of give you your water?
The stewardess?
Flight attendants.
Right. And I took that personality assessment and I realized I was a pilot. And as a pilot, my personality was, give me the problem and I'm going to get you where you need to go. And then like the stewardess, they actually entertain you along the way. The grounds crew is the people who manage the stuff in the back, like all of the mechanisms, if it's like marketing and all of that. And then the traffic control lets you know when is a good timing to run this program or when it's a good, like looking at the data and the numbers. And I always kind of failed at data. I always kind of failed at like kind of the backside of business. But when I realized I was a pilot, I just started bringing people on, good people who are grounds control people, good air, traffic control people. And then my flight attendants, right? Like the people who can entertain my clients while they're in the midst or keep the email stuff up. But I think that's it. And even now they have to say, okay, so we're working on this, right? Like, let's get this up and running. And then because I'm a creator, like I'm always like, oh, we can do something about that. And, oh, we can do this. And so it's a part of my personality. So I kind of sit in it but that's one of the things that I wish I was better at, just staying focused on the task at hand.
Yeah.
Now, Sheila, you mentioned that you took an assessment. Where did you get that assessment from?
You can go to flightassessment.com. It's actually the DISC assessment. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the DISC assessment, dominant, introspective, study, or constant. Mm-hmm. So he took that DISC assessment and he kind of remodeled it for this flight assessment. I think it's like $97. you take this assessment, and then you can add on like the videos that kind of take you through what process. That works for my clients too. A lot of things is just personality. You know, what kind of personality are you? And I realized I was attracting a lot of other pilots, right? People who wanted to do stuff. And so as a consequence of me attracting other pilots, nothing never really came to fruition. Or if it did, we hopped on to something else. So we did something else. And it's like, no, I need a grounds crew, you know, like I need some flight attendants. I need these other people. And knowing that has truly impacted my performance tremendously. And now I'm okay with being a pilot, and we just pin ideas now. Okay, we can do that next week or next quarter or next year or something like that. So
excellent. What about you, Casey?
Well, for me, I mean practically everything, right? Because the thought process is all about growth. So when I consider growing, growing is always trying to go back, look at what you did the last year or the year before, look at what mistakes you made, how can you get better from those mistakes, what are the things that you could potentially leverage as far as knowledge that you gained or experience that you gained, right? And how can you use that in a similar situation? So what I would say I've learned is that you try not to burn bridges, because you just never know what that bridge is going to eventually lead you to down the road. I know people say burn your boats, but burning your boats is very different than burning your bridges, right? Because those of us who are entrepreneurs will listen to Tony Robbins, you hear burn your boats, but burning your boats don't mean burn bridges. So I've had situations where I was extremely emotional about a scenario, and I could have gone back and probably burnt that bridge. And I was very fortunate, because not burning that bridge now is starting to become a source that feeds me today. So, there's one thing that I wish I could be better at is the younger me is to say, hey, be a little bit less reactionary with your approach when somebody, when you find yourself in a situation, and kind of reflect and give yourself a little bit of time to see how to respond to that situation, because then you avoid yourself from burning bridges.
About you, Allahme? You have something to add to that one?
Yeah, I want to say focus on the priority first. That's where I feel that I always run into, because I got several things going on, and I get stuck doing one thing for that moment, and then realize I have to do that. But to add to that is delegating. I need to get better with delegating. And of course, you guys, we always say that if you want something done, if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. Well, that mindset is leaving me, and I am picking up a whole nother mindset, because I hire assistants to do the job. I hire assistants to do the job for me. And so that I can focus and work on other aspects, on expanding my business or collaborating, opening and doing things differently. So that's one of the things I would say is prioritizing what's important, and then making sure I delegate, and just have to just delegate and do checks and balances and audit. That's the only way you'd be able to check. And, of course, that's my background. So once I start doing that, my employees don't like me. I start auditing and catching a lot of stuff. If I can be busy the whole week and just in meetings, a lot of different meetings, so I'm not necessarily in the office, and I'm relying on my employees, the ones that are doing certain things, I still hold on to a lot of different things, but the ones that are doing certain things, and when I go and do those audits, it's like, yeah, we need to talk about this. So those are some of the things I need to work on.
Yeah. And see, the reason why I asked that question is that a lot of people think, once you become an entrepreneur, people are looking on, they think you know everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you in a sense, you look perfect to them. Like, man, I wish I had her. I wish I had this. Listen, we all imperfect. We all dealing with some things. You know, we all trying to get it together to get to that next level. So
all of us except for Breeze.
Breeze got it going on.
Yeah, he said it himself. It's been a lifelong journey.
Breeze got it going on.
Yeah, I'm just playing, Breeze, but I do like your philosophy and where you've come to an understanding that you've learned your lessons. And so what I heard you say is that there's really no need to change anything because along the way I made those adjustments, right? And in making those adjustments, I'm seeing the improvement out of that. So I heard you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm saying the exact same thing KC and Allahme said. And even you, I'm saying the same thing, except I've already done it. See, I'm a lot older than you guys. I'll be 60 next year, so I've already done those things. But I agree with all of you.
You are not a lot older than us.
I know. He's just always trying to make himself be the wise man.
Well, then I tell you what, you guys are a great looking bunch of people then, because you look like 20-year-olds. But yeah, as you go through, if you are, you will learn from the mistakes you make, as Casey intimated. You will make mistakes, but you have to be conscious enough, aware enough to say, okay, I did that. How can I leverage that information so that I can rise to another plateau on the next outing? And as you continue to do that, and if you're good, you will do it to a point where you find your rhythm. And you're unstoppable. There's nothing nobody can say or do to stop you from where you're going, because you already got your formula now. And that's the only other thing I'll add, Jay, is that we have to be, as entrepreneurs, as particularly African-American entrepreneurs in this nation, we have to learn how to develop systems and formulas. McDonald's doesn't work because they got a great cook in this restaurant or a great server in that one. They work because they have a formula, a system, and that system is applicable universal. So when we develop and apply a universal system to our businesses, what's going to stop it? It don't matter if you got Harry. Allahme said that she was having difficulty with delegation. Because for one thing, you recruit people and you delegate that authority, then you do your assessments or your audits, and now the people are upset because they ain't really doing what they're supposed to do. Well, that's not their fault, Allahme. We have to develop a system to where no matter who you hire, that system maintains, and the system will weed out the weak.
The system will it'll do it'll do stuff. It'll do how do I say this? It will basically, when you put the system together, basically, it'll do 5 times much stuff. If you just kind of do it a different way, right? An individual or whatever the case is, right? That's very important.
Yes. That's where my manufacturing background, because it's exactly what Bree said. Manufacturing plants are designed that literally you can lose the entire plant. Man, it'll probably stop for a day. They'll plug everybody. They'll plug new people back in. And they back up and running, and yes, the efficiency may dip for a certain period of time, but because they have all of these processes and systems and procedures that are documented, that is plug and play. Of course, yes, it's still dependent on the competence of that individual, obviously. The better the individual, the more success you will have, but they are structured in a manner that even if you don't have the best person, it's still going to produce, millions of dollars worth of product. So.
Well, to add to that, you guys know the old saying, when the cat's away, the mice will play. Now, I have to emphasize that I do have systems in place. I do have processes and procedures, because that's something I've been doing for years. So I have processes. Anybody off the street can come in and they can get my procedures and, and understand the systems and, do what they have to do. But when you are not there cracking the whip, then they play. And so you start asking questions. Why wasn't this done? Isn't this on your daily task list? Or wasn't this supposed to be done at a specific time? Because, you have tasks and you have deadlines and dates to complete these tasks, along with the processes and the procedures. But You know, it's difficult if, like me, for example, if I had an office manager in just to oversee all of the operational things, it'll be a lot easier for me. And that is actually something I'm working on.
Well, I like that you brought up. I wrote down all three of your things. You said that if you want something done, you gotta do it yourself. And when the cat's away, the mice will play. And you gotta crack the whip, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as a culture, we truly believe that. And I'm gonna speak to Danielle's thing and Breeze's about performance management. Right?
Mm-hmm.
These systems that we put in place, there's something called scaling in business, right? And in our business, we have a 4-step process: discovery, like what is the problem? Let's put a strategy around it. We implement the strategy, but in implementing the strategy, that's not saying what we're going to do. That's showing us where the gaps are. You know, what do we need to improve? Is this the right tactics, right? Because now we need to execute. And when we execute this plan, it has been tested. We've implemented it. We know what the cracks are, right? And so now we're executing on the efficiency, right? And so it sounds like you're at implementation stage, and a lot of those beliefs that's coming up for you, I think, is what you're seeing in your business. And I think that's a lot of the stuff that we see as entrepreneurs, our own belief system playing out right in front of us, and not just fixing that part, the performance part, but also saying, is this true, right? Is it true that when the cat's away, the mice will play?
The only thing I'll probably add to it is to Allahme's point, right? I feel like automation is important. A lot of us could automate a lot of our processes, as you will, but there is still a reason why there's the need for a pilot in the case of the flight, right? Even though we all know that the plane flies practically by itself, nobody knows the roads in the air, right? The plane just gets GPS input in the system and it flies, and the pilot's job is really for an emergency landing, but there's still a need for that pilot. So having a system helps a lot. It gives us a lot of time to be able to, have the ability to do more things and grow, if you will. But at the end of the day, there's still that importance of having the boss, if you will, or having the person who gets to make that who's the final backdrop, who has to make the decision, who has to make the tough calls, who has to crack the whip, using Allahme's word, right, to be able to kind of get people in line. Because as much as we like to create processes and believe the processes would work, there's still the understanding that there's that 20% human error. So as human beings, we're always going to make a mistake. Not only are we going to make a mistake, there's still the tendency for people to take things for granted when they get used to being in a position that, you get mundane. It's over and over, it's repeated. So to Allahme's point, there still has to be an audit process. And that's why certain corporations happen to be very successful for an extended period of time, because they still stick, even though they have an automation process, even the manufacturing plants, they still have a very specific, solid audit process that works in the back end that keeps everybody honest, even all the way up to the CEO.
Yes, they have, and that is something. That is another process they have. Is they have that check and balance process built in. They call it continuous improvement. I was talking to Shiela about this, where it's like nothing is ever perfect. Nothing is ever good enough. You have to keep striving for better than what you did before, or making products cheaper than what you did before, all of those points.
Now, can I add this? I want to add this before we move on. So we're talking about corporations like McDonald's and, I would say Chick-fil-A and the corporation that Danielle worked for. But as entrepreneurs, it's kind of different, right? Because a lot of those blind spots that you're talking about, KC, is truly now emotional for us, right? Like sitting down, having to do an audit as the CEO to the employee that you hired, that you built a relationship with, that your check now is what's helping this person pay their bills or feed their kids, right? And it's so close, as entrepreneurs, we're so close in proximity to the problem, that is being created, that that's why I say it triggers some stuff in us. And that is truly what affects our efficiency in the beginning. It's how we interpret what is happening, right? If I fire her, if I hold her accountable, I know I need to get this thing done. But if I fire her and get the right person in place, is she gonna be able to feed her kids next week, right? Because we're so close. Like companies like the CEO of McDonald's, he not close to that. Or a manager who say, well, go fire him. You know what I mean? He's not dealing with the emotional stuff that, okay, in this era, we saw this person didn't do what they were supposed to do, so they need to get fired. He's hiring a person to do that. As the entrepreneur, you're the person doing that, and you built this relationship. So it's not as easy as just processes and systems that's put together. It's also the emotional fortitude that is required to actually make sure that this process is working, to actually make sure that the efficiency is working. And that requires some emotional management on ourselves. And that's why I asked the question, is it true when the cat's away, the mice will play, right? Because if you buying into that belief, then you're accepting their behavior. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm the boss. You know what I mean? And I know when I ain't around, they gonna get stuff up. So now I got to crack the whip and get them back together. But that's an emotional response, because the truth of the matter is, whether you're away or not, they supposed to be doing what they need to do, right? And they need to be invested in your business. But that is a difficult decision to make, when you have a relationship with somebody, or when your check is the one that's feeding their kids.
So I guess, can I ask this question then? Because my perception is, if I'm getting into a business, I would want to eventually mirror the success of the business that I'm hoping to eventually be like, right? So for example, if I'm going to get into the manufacturing business, then I would like to find the largest manufacturing company and mirror their practices as much as possible. So do you think that it's fair to say that from an entrepreneur standpoint, it probably makes more sense to remove the emotional and the feelings in our business, simply because we can afford to have that? Like, using your example, right? Can we now say, hey, yeah, we have somebody who is, someone who's close to us. He's worked for us. She's worked for us for 15 years. And we know that our check is what feeds the person's family. But now that person probably understands that, hey, you know what? I know the boss man or the boss lady is making enough money, so I can afford to take a day off, or I can afford to slack, right? So at what point could we say we should be like the corporations, if you will, and not have that personal relationship, or not allow ourselves have any kind of personal connection when it comes to dealing with our business? Or is that even a possibility?
Oh, yeah, that's a possibility. I think the first place we should be hiring as an entrepreneur is a manager that you're talking to that's making those decisions. Because I heard somebody on Facebook, or I saw a cross that said, take your emotions out of business. So we can take the emotions out of business. I can fire you, right? But when I go home, and this is why as entrepreneurs, we get burnt out and we get stressed out, because we're still dealing with that look on that person's face or the thoughts that's happening. So even if we took the emotions out of that, sometimes just the experience itself is causing us burnout on the back end. It's causing us with some grief on the back end. So one of the first positions we should be hiring and cultivating is some type of manager, some type of executive that we're talking to, that's now, you're telling this person what they need to do, right? And so I can keep my relationship with my workers, but now this person is responsible for hiring, firing, or like the emotional stuff, because they're not tied to this employee the way I am. You know what I mean? Or this business or this thing, right? And we fail to put people in those executive positions. We'll allocate responsibilities like marketing, send out my emails, but we won't allocate real executive positions where you are my executive officer. You know what I mean? You represent me in this company, right? And it's your job to get this stuff done, right? Now, this person doesn't have the emotional baggage tied to the company. They have a role that they have to implement and execute, and they're more willing to do that. than I would. Now I could take my emotions, like I said, I could take my emotions out the business, but am I going home? Now I'm burned out though, because I know what that caused. I might not even share that in the appraisal process. You know what I mean? But it's more about our well-being in these decisions that we make when we go home at night, so we can get up and be, so we can get up.
Let me just add real quickly.
Okay.
I just wanted to add real quickly. I have fired dozens and dozens and dozens of people over the years, and I have absolutely no problem with it. No, I fired my sister.
I ain't surprised, Bruce. I am not surprised.
But let me tell you. Let me tell you why. See, here's the thing I think we're overlooking. As an entrepreneur, as a boss, whether you have a small operation, mom and pop operation, or multi-million, 50,000 employee corporation, it still comes down to the same thing, which is you want to recruit people you want to recruit people, as Casey said, you want people working for you who share the vision, who want to move towards the same direction you moving in. So the onus is on the entrepreneur from the beginning to try to find those people, not just somebody that need a paycheck, but people who actually want to do this. I don't want somebody working for my restaurant that don't want to be in the food service industry. I don't want somebody working for my van line if they don't want to be in driving. You see, so that's the first part of it. The second part of it is, speaking to your point, Sheila, is when it comes time to fire them, it's actually advantageous. As the entrepreneur with the emotional connection, you have the advantage to go to that person and say, listen, we need to talk. Now, I normally would fire people who do what you did or who fail to do what you need to do. However, because I know you, I'm going to sit down and talk to you and share this with you. This is where the company's going. This is the vision, the objective, the goals of the company. This is what we're all doing to facilitate that. And I need you to be on that page. If you cannot meet that requirement, if you cannot elevate your energy and your prospects, I mean your mentality to helping us facilitate this objective, I have no other alternative than to let you go. So how about you go home for the night, think it over, come back tomorrow, and let's start fresh. See, a week from now, when they ain't did it, or 2 weeks, or whatever your time frame is, hey, I got to let you go. But wait, I told you. See, so you actually have the advantage with that emotional tie, and your conscience is clear because you talk to them or send an email or a text or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So rather than pass the buck to a manager because we don't want to deal with the emotional thing, no, let's deal with it. Let's tell these people, hey, and the reason I say this is because I'm a former United States Marine. In the military, they had two different types of military people, those who joined and those who got drafted. Now, they don't do the draft so much now, but back in the day, they would draft people because they needed bodies in the army or whatever. They would draft you. So 99% of the people that got drafted didn't want to be there. So they had problems out of them. But the rest of us, I joined voluntarily. I wanted to be there. So it's easy to mentor me if I want to be there. And it's easy to push me towards my goal if I want to be there. So that's all I want to add. Praise the Lord.
Really?
Well, I want to interject because what Sheila said is true, and I've actually seen it. Just working in corporate, you've seen where these executives had relationships with employees, and these employees were just horrible. But because they have these relationships and the emotional connection, they allowed them to continue to cause errors and, cause problems within the organization. But you know what? The first thing they do is they bring someone into the organization and clean out the whole place. And I've seen it all the time. They will bring someone into that organization, and the first people they leave are their friends. The first people they let go are their friends. So they hire these people to actually come in and clean out the organization. I've seen it.
Yeah.
That's right. So whether you hire somebody to do it or do it yourself, the point is still the same, Allahme, that as entrepreneurs, our obligation is to the organization, to the business. That's it.
This will kind of run together here a little bit. So let me introduce you to Johnny real quick. Johnny, what's up, man?
What's going on, Jay? How's everybody doing this evening?
How you doing? Great. You see how this conversation is going, man?
Yeah, I see. I'm sitting back taking notes. I'm enjoying how this is what I came in on. This is awesome.
You got to jump right in, bro. When you see something, you got to go get it, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
yeah.
So, I think this is awesome. This is exposing the underbelly of capitalism. You know, the parts that people are kind of reluctant to really speak about. But as Bree said, you know, you got a Band-Aid on, you know, you're going to hurt yourself if you just keep inching it off. It's going to hurt worse than if you just rip it off all at once. So, you know, I don't know if anybody else on this panel has kids, but, you know, that's what I've even like to compare it to is like, you're going to discipline your kids. That's really, you talk about heartstrings. This is mini you. You know, so if you're going to have the wherewithal, you know, going to stand by it to discipline your kids, because you know that the ultimate goal, you know, is bigger than just this moment, this behavior, this situation, then I say, you know, you shouldn't deviate from any other aspect of your life if you're going to do that, you know, that close to home. It should definitely be the case in business where it's not personal.
Yeah. Wow.
But people not disciplining their kids, though, John.
I can't speak for them folks.
I know, right? I can't speak for them.
And I think that's my point. Like when we're talking about entrepreneurs, we talked about that flight assessment earlier. Everybody's not a pilot. Everybody don't have what Breeze has or what Breeze talked about, right? This kind of like, look, my business is first, you know, very thick skin, removed emotionally. So we're talking about that issue. We're talking about gender, right? Female versus male perspective. It's a lot of intersections that go into, you know, building a business. And to our audience, if they're having issues with not putting the process together, but putting the right people in the process, like Bree said, he had to fire his sister, right? Like you hired your sister. How long did it take you to fire her? How many conversations did you actually have with your sister, you know, before you fired her?
One.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you what I get from Bree.
And if we polled our audience, it would probably have taken 10, or you know what I mean. The majority of people, it wouldn't take one conversation, and that's it, right? It would take multiple conversations.
I like to point something out. So usually, this is the importance of. My grandmother was in HR her entire career. She retired at like Lockheed. She did a lot, but like one of the things that she really imparted on me, like when you start a business, is make sure your employee handbook, make sure whatever rules and guidelines you have, because if it's written down, it's the same way with a price, you know, with pricing, right? If I write the price down and I'm talking to a prospect or whatever, you can't argue with what's on the menu. You know, we're not here to, so it's the same with those policies. If everything is written down, then we have a code of conduct to go by. If something needs to be changed, then you can pull me to the side and tell me, you know, hey, I don't necessarily feel like this is fair, and we can revisit it that way. But if you just know the rules and you ignore them, you blatantly, you know, I'll get away with it. Then at that point in time, you're forced with a decision where it's like, all right, emotion or not, you're blatantly disrespecting the structure that I have set up. Now, if you want to go do your own thing,
by all means,
go do it.
I absolutely 100% agree with you.
I'm pretty sure everybody here, you know, what your mama say, if you under my house, you under my roof.
Well, I think it's the happy medium. I think, and to Sheila's point, there's not everybody is like that, but I think if you want something big and massive, you're gonna have to get like that.
You're gonna have
so if you gotta have 10 conversations, you know, you have to understand there are going to be limiting factors in your growth. Mm-hmm. And you know, so I think it's not like you said, it doesn't make you a good person, doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you a good business, bad business, yada yada yada. But in my opinion, if you, like you said, you set the guidelines, you set the expectations, you know, one conversation, it's there. Just like Allahme said, I have tasks, you didn't do this, this, and this. I got one conversation. I need a week, 2 weeks to do this, this, and this.
But I got a question. Y'all know what's the guy?
That's right. You gotta have 10 conversations.
Y'all know who the guy who's like the social media influencer,
Never heard
Charleston
of
White? Well, here's the thing. He gets on TikTok and he tells his audience how they can sue their workplace. He goes and tells them how he can walk them through OSHA guidelines and all these different cracks that, you know, you look at it from the other side of the other perspective as the business owner, right? Look at how important it is to have your ducks in a row because, you know, things change. Now, I'm not saying that that's everybody,
Good
but
point.
what I am saying is if you're going to be potentially aware, these are reasons why you need to have these, you need to be systematic in your approach, regardless of how you feel, because this is how you're going to avoid liabilities in the future by making sure that the documentation is in place, making sure that the expectation is understood if you're going to be paying somebody to work for you, because there's too much that goes on with that'll bite you.
I'm 100% in alignment with what Breeze and Johnny is saying, especially when it comes to the, you know, making sure that things are wrote out, right? Especially because I feel like that helps an individual, that actually takes out the emotion because this is listed, right? This is the expectation, especially with job responsibilities. I don't know how many times I had to readjust my job responsibilities because I realized it either didn't have something in it or I needed to put something else in it that wasn't being done. But that's a process. And that's why I was saying, we're talking about big companies that has already went through the implementation process. So they know these holes, they understand, they've auto-corrected, they've done adjustments, they brought consultants in, they had a, you know, non-biased perspective to come in and say, hey, these are these gaps. And as entrepreneurs in the development of our company, we have to have a process for that stage, right? Breeze, you sounds like you've got to that stage. You know, Johnny, it sounds like you've got to that stage. But most entrepreneurs, they probably don't even have a job description. Like, what is my task when I come into this job every day, right? You're holding them accountable to something you said to them. I like that Allahme said I have the auditing process. I do a quarterly audit on my employees. Most people ain't doing quarterly audits. You only doing an audit when you've done something bad, right? Mm-hmm. Like, or there's an issue coming to my office. So these are the little things that we need to do. And I'm just saying, Johnny and Breeze, and to the whole audience, a lot of times these things aren't being done because we're putting our emotions in. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's an emotional thing for us to try to do. Now, how do we take that out? Absolutely. Do a job description, you know, hire an exec, see a coach, right? Listen to our podcast. But in the journey of creating that efficiency, it's the emotional work that you have to be able to put to the side. Now, I ain't saying it's the emotional work that you need to allow to this. It's not justifying this. It's not saying that this is okay. I'm just saying, hey, the biggest problem is your emotions, and you need to talk to somebody about that, and you need to get that out the way. And the biggest problem is your beliefs, and you need to talk to somebody about that and get that out the way because it's affecting your business.
Dame, come here.
We get you, Dame.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's emotional for us. And we should take it out the business, but that is not always the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. So are you suggesting, and Breeze, I'm speaking to you because you've been there. You're a lot older than us, remember?
Right.
At least 100 years.
You're 24 years old. 42.
So Breeze, do you suggest business owners coming in, hiring someone who's going to be doing the hiring and establishing a relationship with the employees? That way you don't have to deal with it. I mean, do you suggest that would be a good way to come in as a business owner?
Well, let me answer that with a two-part answer. The first part of the answer is, as entrepreneurs, we get an idea and we go start a business. So we're doers. Like Shiela said, we're pilots, we're doers, we fly the plane. But just like when you look around your cityscape, you see all these great buildings and bridges. Doers built those, but it was the architects that designed it. So I believe that the mistake a lot of entrepreneurs make is they don't put the thought forward before they go forward with the business. Now, What I mean by that is a lot of this stuff that Sheila just spoke of could be fixed before the business ever launches, because if we do our homework, do our research, and put this thing together, whether we have the wherewithal and to know how to do it ourselves or whether we have to recruit a team to help us, the business should be fully developed before we ever launch. And as Johnny said, we should have our manuals in place, our training manuals, our protocols, and everything, not only for the sake of facilitating day-to-day business, but also for whatever may come down the road, such as lawsuits or OSHA violations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the first part of the answer. The second part of the answer is, I think it's individualized. Whether we should maintain that relationship with our employees and have that emotional connection, as Sheila said, or hire or build a moat around us through management. We could create mid-level managers and all that. We could do all of that. I think it's individualized. You have to go with what works best for you. But at the end of the day, the buck stops at the top. At the end of the day, as KC said, at the end of the day, the owner has to make those soft and hard decisions. So whether you're doing it through a manager or directly, you still made the decision to say, look, sis, your ass got to go.
Hey, listen. We got to be slow about hiring and quick about firing. That's about mindset, right? So if you get somebody in that position, they can't handle it, they out of here. You know, before,
that's right.
I take my time, but now time is money, man. I got things to do, and I'm not. I understand too. So I understand what you're saying, as far as you get to know that person personally, you know what's going on in their life. But at the same time, listen, I got a job. I got this. This affects my family. You know what I'm saying? This customer service that you're not answering these calls or you're not treating people right. That's hurting my company and possibly the generations behind me, right? So I have to cut it off and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think one thing about Breeze that's very concrete and very probably speaks to his performance is he has that. I'm gonna think about me and I'm gonna think about this business first. And I think that's a learned behavior, right? Thinking about how I feel, what I need, what this business needs. That is a taught behavior, because most of us are not thinking what I want. We're more projective in thinking about what they need.
Yeah.
So I know my first time being on the podcast, one thing that got brought up is a lot of people go into it as entrepreneurs with the mindset of a hustler rather than one of a business owner. Mm-hmm. So when you go into it as a business owner, you're thinking about systems, you're thinking about processes, you know, and I take notes from the clients that I have that are successful business owners, and I know one of them, he recently told me, he was like, you know, one of the first things you need to do is replace yourself. You know, you need to find somebody, right. And yeah, that's a hard thing to find, but making sure that you do your due diligence to find that person that can do those jobs that you want done a certain way. And then you build, you know, you go down from there, but it's going in with the mindset that I'm here to stimulate an economy. I'm here to not only feed myself, but I'm here to feed the people who are going to, you know, buy into this, who are going to be a part of this dream, this mission. So when you go into it that way, you're walking into it like, okay, well, what is the job? What do I need people to do, right? When you start delegating tasks, then you have your job description, right? You start coming up with your own systems and you record yourself. Well, what does it look like when I have to create social media content? What does it look like when I have to go through and do invoicing and pay bills? So once you start recording those, and then you're like, all right, well, I have a video and a written process of how I can do this myself. Well, now you can delegate that to someone else. And that's where, like you said, it's a learned behavior. It's something that you have to, you know, for me, I picked up in a book and then started talking to other people. And then when I saw the correlation between real life and those pages, it sunk. It was like, okay, don't waste your time beating your head against the concrete, moving inefficiently, because you need to understand if you're gonna get out here and you're gonna be what you want to be, a boss, you got to know what all that entails. And it's more than just saying, oh yeah, I got this company. Oh yeah, I make my own schedule. Oh yeah, those are awesome points. But at the same time, as you know, we all know, and anyone who's listening that actually goes through this, it's deeper than that. So.
And I love what Bree said too. And Danielle, you can probably speak to this. I'm sorry. But when we start a business, we go out and do it, right? I think that's what you said, Breeze. Like, I want to start a shirt company. Let me go order some shirts and start this shirt company. And one of the most profound things that my coach, one of my coaches taught me was, when you start a business, the first thing that you should do is build your team in your community, right? Like, it's not so much about the thing you want to deliver, because that's not sustainable if you don't have the team or the individuals in place that's going to help you execute that. If that's your coach, if that's the marketer, if that's whatever. And to what Johnny's point, that's the mental work that we have to do, like sitting down, writing a business plan, how is this going to look? What is financials going to look like? All of the stuff that you get asked when you want to ask for a loan or something, like, show me your business plan. Where's your performer? How much do you plan on making? All of those questions that make us feel like, but it is a thought out process. And like you said, Breeze, your business should be a business before you actually open the doors. And a lot of us fail to do that. You know what I mean? If you think about a restaurant, they already got everything that's on the menu. They got their menu, they got their table, they got their servers before they do their opening, right? And if we went in with that mindset, I think we could be more sustainable in our business endeavors. But again, that's a learned behavior. I want to sell shirts. I'm gonna go get some shirts and I'm gonna go sell them. And then we're so much more reactive than we are proactive as entrepreneurs. And we end up running into a lot of issues because we want to do it right now. Those skyscrapers and stuff you talked about, those were thought about 10 years ago, the ones that's being put up right now. You know what I mean? The ones that's being built. Like, there was a process put in place. And we just have to work on our patience, which is, again, another emotional thing.
But listen, I don't know if y'all realize that was one question. We went in on that one question.
Good question, man. A very good question, sir.
That was a good one there.
I wanted Danielle to speak to the process, because I'm sure when they came out with a new product, they already knew everything. They already had the people in place and was like, okay, we're going to launch this on this day.
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody has said it. It's now, can you start? Yeah, but you better be picking up all those processes and things along the way. Because, like I said, that will be your limiting factor.
Kudos to the moderator for an excellent question.
Yeah, agreed.
Hey, but listen, we're going to go ahead and we have a business we want to highlight today. Breeze, you ready? You ready?
Yeah, let's talk about it a little bit. I'll be brief.
Yeah, right.
Somehow.
Let's go.
I operate. Well, of course, my name is Breeze Canada, and I operate as a publisher. Samarian Publishing Company is my principal business. I have others. I've owned many conglomerate and have little subsidiaries, but my principal business is Samarian Publishing Company. Under this publishing company, which I founded actually in Saginaw, Michigan, and then I transferred it to Ohio. But under this publishing company, I not only write books, but I publish the works of other authors. We do editing, we do ghostwriting, we do everything, top to bottom, global marketing, cover design, interior design, syntax, format, everything. We do the works. So that's the short version of it. That's what we do. We create and produce and promote and publish great books. That's my opinion, but they're great books. But also, under that banner, I'm also a public speaker. I do motivational speaking. I charge a lot of money for it. And I do business coaching, not business counseling. I don't counsel because that's not my forte. I can't sit here and counsel somebody on what to do in business, but I can coach them how to turn an idea or an existing business into a thriving success. There are certain mechanisms that have to be put in place and move forward on. That's what I teach. I teach you how to put these steps, well, first how to develop the steps, and then put them into place and activate them so that your business won't be just some hustle that you're struggling with for 5 or 10 or 15 years, but something that you can actually make millions of dollars with in months. It's not that difficult. In today's world where the internet just opens up opportunity for everybody, there's no reason why anyone with a business should not be making at least 5 or 6 figures a month. You shouldn't be making $25,000 or $40,000 a year. You should be making that a month minimum, and it's very easy. So I teach people that, and I guide them through the process, and that's what I do. Samarian Publishing Company. Our website is samarianpublishing.com. So go there, check us out, order something, please. And that's
excellent. You guys have any questions for Mr. Breeze? So I got a question. How can I be down with $100,000 a month? I want to rock with you on that, man. What I need to do? I'm signing up.
Sign up for his coaching.
That's what it is. Okay, I'm going to your website.
Well, wait a minute. Let me clarify the coaching thing. I don't do like a subscription or you pay me for so many weeks to come in. No, what I do is I charge a flat fee, a one-time flat fee, and you tell me what it is that you want out of your business endeavors. What is your objective? What is your goal? I'll get you there for a flat fee. And the reason why I do that is because too many times, and this is no disrespect to anybody that does this, but too many people are coaching, but there's no results at the end. A lot of people go to coaching for different things and they get a whole lot of talk and a whole lot of information, but in the end, they're still stuck trying to figure out, well, how in the hell can I make some money? So what I do is actually do it. I say, here, take my hand. Let me walk you through this and let's get it done. So at the end of it, you say, wow. And this is not something I created. As Shiela said, this is a learned thing. This is something I learned. If you want to be successful in life at anything, the best way to do it, the number one thing you need to do is put yourself in the midst of those who are doing it already or those who have done it. Amen. So that's what I did. I learned. I'm from the 60s. I grew up in the civil rights era, but I learned that there are certain things, it sounds like a racist statement, but there are certain things that each segment of society is better at than other segments. There are certain things the Chinese people do better than the rest of us, certain things the Jewish people do better than the rest of us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I did. I said, man, I hear you, Dad. I hear you, Grandmama, but I got to go over here with these Jewish people because that's what I'm trying to get to. And when I learned this, it's easy for me to teach it. See, all you do is you learn things and you convert it to your language and pass it on. So that's what I do. Now, to answer your question, Jay, I'm actually putting together a project for you. I told you about this earlier.
Yeah.
I'm putting together a project for you and I that I want to share with you. It's called Samarian Mid-City Network REIT. It's a real estate investment trust company. What we do as real estate investors.
Oh, we talking about a REIT.
Let me tell you
something. Oh, look, we talking about a REIT.
Somebody got excited.
Hey, because look, the only thing performing well in my portfolio right now, outside of my IULs, are my REITs.
Come on, brother. Let me tell you where we make our mistakes at. This is not a slap at you, Jay. I'm just talking business. When we get into things like real estate, we are taught, hey, buy a house, renovate it, flip it, or rent it out, or buy a small building, renovate it, flip it, sell it, or rent it out. That's okay if you're hustling. That's okay if you're trying to come up, if you're trying to make a few dollars. But if you really want to be a real estate mogul, you have to learn from the people who do it. When we go to these banks or these land banks or these finance companies and we say, hey, I need a loan or I need financing because I want to, or as you said, Jay, when I go secure my investors and say, hey, I got a property over here, y'all want to invest in it, that's one way to do it, and you can make a few dollars. But believe me, when you create a REIT and you have a vast pool of resources to where you can go to that same bank, and there are many of them out there, those same land trusts, and you can say, listen, show me your list of properties that you need to get rid of. I'll take them all. I'll take that 100 over there and the 300 over there. So when you operating with millions of dollars, you get millions of dollars. And I won't go into too much detail because it'll take I'll just summarize it by saying this. And I believe Sheila said this earlier, which is, Sheila did say it. I remember everything Sheila says. You have to have team. You have to break your business down into teams. Your teams. So in real estate, your teams would be acquisition. You got one team. Their job is to seek and find and purchase these properties. That's acquisitions. Your second team would be development, renovations and stuff like that. Take those portfolios from the acquisition team and prepare these properties to make money. Third team is sales or distribution. You got to have a team that can move these properties for you. And when you got that flowing in a nice, smooth system, you're making millions of dollars a year doing the same thing you're doing now for the hell of it. And you don't really have to do nothing.
Let me tell you something.
So go ahead, bro.
I've heard that before, right? And I've been in real estate a long time. I haven't heard anybody actually break that down like that. What you're saying is right. You play big ball, you get big money, bro. As simple as that. Everything that you're talking about has a system already in place. Already. I just need to tie it together. That's it. And go kick it. Keep my laptop with me.
Y'all get with me.
So you're absolutely right, bro. We're talking. We're talking for sure. We're talking. You broke that down.
Okay. Most certainly. And by the way, we will invite anybody that want to participate. I think Johnny is already on top of this, but we'll invite anybody that want to participate in this podcast or outside of this. There will be a door of opportunity for everybody. I'm not greedy. Listen, I don't need all the money in the world. I got mine paid. I want to make this where it's a thrusting, driving, producing entity for us. Otherwise, what are we here for?
Check this out. KC, tell them what you do, KC.
I'm a commercial loan officer. I help people with getting funded.
Well, can I borrow $3?
Hold on. John, tell them what you do, John.
I help. I'll just simplify it. I eliminate capital gains taxes for people and help protect assets. So.
Okay.
Allahme, tell them what you do.
There's the.
I can help you structure your business so that you can get what Johnny has to offer and what KC has to offer and get in the same group with Breeze.
Tell them what you do.
Oh, I help you set the mind, get the right mindset to be able to make it happen. Some of those beliefs. And then I got the investment capital underneath it.
Tell them what you do.
I make sure you keep I was just about to say, I make sure you keep doing what you're supposed to be doing so you keep making more money.
And I do everything real estate. This is the dream team right here. It's on the channel. On this right now is a dream team. Let's put it together, man. Why not? Why not?
Listen, have y'all? I'm sure everyone here has heard of the civil rights movement, right?
Yeah.
The civil rights movement. In my opinion, the civil rights movement had the right ideal. The reason why it failed so dramatically and why we're still an oppressed people in this land and why we still have systemic racism and why we still have hurdles that other people don't have is simply because when the civil rights movement was at its height, when they were most effective, most potent, they missed the one key ingredient that would have got them over the hump, which was unity. They didn't put it together. The Muslims, you had the black Muslims in Chicago under Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They didn't come together with Dr. King. They didn't come together with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference or SNCC or come on now. So
they didn't have a Sheila.
They didn't have a Sheila.
They didn't have Sheila. You have to put components. You have to put components in place to create a whole. I'll shut up after I say this. Somebody once asked a guy, "What is the most important part of a car?" What's y'all answer? The most important part of a car.
The driver.
It's
anybody else?
The engine that starts the car.
They say the engine.
The team that starts the
Anybody
car.
Engine.
I'm too analytical for this question.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't. Is it one?
Well, here's
Is it one thing?
well, here's the real answer. Sheila, you're right. That's the answer. The answer is all of it.
All of
The answer,
it.
the most important part of a car is all of it. That's right, because without the engine, the car ain't going nowhere. But if you got an engine and no transmission, it ain't going nowhere. If you got all of that and no key, it ain't going nowhere. If you ain't got no tires, it ain't going nowhere. Come on. If you ain't got no gas, no, it ain't that deep. It's surface level. If you ain't got gas in it, you can have a Rolls Royce, but if it ain't got no gas in it, you ain't going. Yes,
Right,
so
and
I think we're sure if ain't nobody driving, it ain't going nowhere. But that ain't true no more.
Right.
So.
But I think that
Exactly.
goes to your next question, Jay.
Say it one more time. No, go
I
ahead.
think that goes to Jay's next question, which is why do businesses fail? I think that was your question. Like,
Yeah, we kind of covered it though. But go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
Because of this element, right? Of team building, right?
Yes.
Like how
That's right.
do we
That's right.
come together and build teams and stay in our silos, but understand that there's intersections where we cross, and that's the most powerful place. Like you always heard the thing, like you got 5 fingers, but a fist is more, powerful, right, than a slap, because it's the power in the community, right? And even sitting here looking at the vast amount of intelligence and skill set and things on this panel, you would think, oh yeah, it's gonna be easy for us to collaborate. But that bringing people together
That's hard.
on one accord and uniting them, that is a lot of mental work.
If everybody's in their lane, I don't think it is. Because
it's about sharing. It's about sharing, though. It's about the idea that I can benefit and you can benefit too.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to be the beneficiary of it all. Like I'm going to benefit in my silo, Breeze is going to benefit in his silo. And guess what? If my benefit is 3% and his is 10%, I'm grateful for my 3%. Like I'm not going to not do it because Breeze is going to get 10%.
Because Jay, people have to identify what lane they're in, because you got a habitual lane steppers where it's like you was in this lane and now, to Sheila's point, oh, he over there getting 10%. You signed up for 3. What you mad for? Right. You put 3% effort in. Stay in your lane, get your 3. But I think, and that's a part of that team concept is everybody got to stay in their lane and accept their lane. I'm over here. I'm not competing. I'm not competing with Breeze. I'm not competing with Sheila. We all eating. So,
yeah. Well, we have to understand. We have to understand that when you have any type of team, any type of group, it all comes down to effective leadership. Michael Jordan didn't win all those rings. The Chicago Bulls did, and that came down to effective leadership. Michael Jordan could have did anything he wanted to on that court. He couldn't have won those rings by himself. You needed leadership.
And what leadership does.
Yeah,
that's right. And what leadership?
Yeah, you had Jerry Reinsdorf. Right. You had Michael on the court. You had Phil, who you can't overlook for having to blend in those personalities. So you got everybody as a leader, and I think that's what I feel like you get into is that we're all leaders in our own right, and because of that, the one thing that I think with the Bulls is that, we look at the team aspect of it, but truth be told, each of them were their own individual LLC. It's a Scottie Pippen LLC, or business of Scottie Pippen, business of Michael Jordan. So each one of them has to show up and know that, all right, if I'm Steve Kerr, look, I need to get open. I need to spot open so I can shoot my threes. If I'm Scottie, I need to be all around everybody.
But you can't have Jeb Bushler shooting threes, though. Everybody got to stay in their own lane.
Yeah.
But here's what I mean by effective leadership. No matter what those guys' talents were on that court, all of them, Craig Hodges, whoever, that's irrelevant. What's relevant here in this moment is that Phil Jackson was the coach. He had to understand what each one of those individuals' objectives were. Each one of those people were on that team with an objective. They had their own personal goals. They had their own personal dreams. He had to understand that individually and figure out how to best utilize each person to bring forth the victory that blesses them all, so they all get what they want out of it. That's what I mean by effective leadership. So even in this podcast group we have here, let's just say hypothetically Sheila was the leader, or Jay, or whomever. If we had a leader that understood, okay, everybody's here for a purpose, let me invest my time in learning who these people are, what their skill sets are, and what their goals are, and figure out how best to use them. And to that point, this is why when we elect a president for our United States, the president's number one job is to build his cabinet. And he can't. Now, some presidents will just pick their cronies and homies, but an effective leader will put the people in place in that cabinet that brings forth the results that are desired and needed to facilitate the objective. And that's what we have to look at. So that's all I'm saying.
Well, I think it's a great idea. I do think that, again, for that question of failure, we fail to come together. And I think it's a development thing and a maturing thing. I think like a tree matures and the last thing it bears is the apple, right? That's the last thing you get from the tree is the apple. And in its maturation, right, it's branching out, it's doing all these things, but it doesn't give forth fruit to the very end. And in our maturing, it's the same way. When we learn that teams are important, sometimes it's at the leg end. It's at that end of, I'm tired of doing this. I've been branched out. I've done all these things. And now I'm ready to collaborate. Now I have this thing that I want to give. And I think it's more of a maturity thing and a mindset thing than it is, we just catch people at wrong times. They just not ready to partner. They just not ready to mature. And it sounds like, and I'm hopeful that the individuals that's listening to us or that's on this podcast, when we come out and bring out ideas like this, that they're at their fruit bearing stage, that they know I have this thing to offer and I can offer and give it abundantly. And I know it's valuable and I'm willing to collaborate with you so we can make an awesome fruit salad, if that's what you want to call it. You know what I mean? And yes. Your orange is not better than my apple, right? Or your banana is not better than my thing. Like it all comes together collectively and it's flavorful to what we're trying to bring together. And I think that that's just maturity.
I'd like to point, just back to that question of, reasons why, a lot of, we see failure. And of course, I can only base it off of my experience, but I think one of the biggest issues is cash flow management. The decisions that are made with the money that we have, because, we've all been in situations where we have to make a little go a long way. But, to Breeze's point, effective leadership.
You're in the matrix, brother. Johnny, you breaking up, man.
Dial up.
You breaking up pretty bad, bro.
Oh, my bad. Am I back now?
Yeah,
you're back now, but you're still scratchy.
Yeah, you're a little scratchy. Are you on Wi-Fi?
No.
I'm saying that's the last one. I've been going crazy. Say it again?
No. But I was just saying, just the effective decisions that people make with the money at hand. You look for funding. Especially we're talking about bringing people together. What's the number one motivation why somebody's coming to work for you? A lot of people don't compensate, their most valuable resource, their employees, well enough. So, it just depends on, that's why I said it varies on business to business, whatever your business model is. But for each one, there's a specific way that you can structure how you manage your cash flow. A lot of the more successful businesses, they have the advisors, the Amazon, when Jeff, he had access to, I imagine, the lawyers, or, he had access to tax professionals, or you have access to all of these different, people. Maybe they didn't a lot of people don't have a Breeze that they can go, holler at and say, hey, I want to take this idea from A to Z, walk me through it. What are some of the guidelines and barriers I need to watch out for? That's just something that I've seen that I think really contributes to, a low success rate, which is, we're in this to make money. So the decisions that you make with the money that you have, or even the money you don't have, Allahme, you're in credit. You know, this is OPM. I know a lot of people who still focus on, I'm gonna get it out the mud, but it's like, why, when you could use somebody else's money? You talk about these people who are in these other positions, but they were smart enough to say, you know what? Yeah, I got this money in this pile, and I'm gonna use that to take care of my bills, and I'm gonna use this money over here to grow my business. I'm gonna use this money for payroll. I'm gonna use this money to make sure my employees are gonna show up every day, so I still got production. Yeah, I'm gonna owe that money back, but that's good debt, you know? So I think that's a real serious conversation that people definitely have to visit before they jump into entrepreneurship, because, you know, we're in this for an economic reason. If not, then you should just be an artist to start a nonprofit.
Nonprofits make money too. It's just
well, you know what? I think that my first internship was at United Way. So United Way in Dallas, in downtown Dallas. So trust me, I know they get money, but I mean in the aspect of a traditional, like, I'm doing this out of the kindness
like
of
if
my
you
heart,
say
out
you
of
want
passion.
a business, what do you want out of the business?
I know I met with Allahme. I met with Allahme what was that, like last week or a couple weeks ago? And we had this conversation, Johnny, right? I'm like, you know, I'm really just so used to using my own money. And it was a mindset like, oh, take your own money. I ain't had no loans. My house is paid for. My car is paid for. My building's paid for, you know. And I'm like, you know, it really piqued my interest in this conversation that's coming up around me. Like, use other people's money, Sheila. Like, you know, why you still... And I guess because I was a service-oriented business, like being a therapist and just kind of creating my own intellectual property, it was like, well, I didn't need a heavy front load of money. And as I made money, I just kind of developed things as I went. But now that I want to get into real estate, I was a landlord, but I want to look at more capital building and things like that. It's like, okay, do you want to use your own money for that? Or do you want to use these assets that you've accumulated in this business that you've established, in this credit that you're working on? And so I really appreciate Allahme. I'm actually going to hire her to help me. But, you know, I think that, again, this is one of those team building things. That's not something I want to talk about. And that was my question. Okay, when I pay you this money, what do I need to do? You know what I mean? Like, what is my responsibility in that? So you're right, Johnny. I wish I would have. And I can't say I didn't hear it, though, coming in, using other people's money. I can't say that wasn't said to me. It just didn't click. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how to make it click in entrepreneurs. And I think if we can find a way to make information click, you know, and make it relevant to new entrepreneurs, that would be a game changer for our community. Because I think we've all heard a lot of the stuff that we talk about, but it's like the click.
I say, like, you know, how many people I talk to people who get into drop shipping, and they're like, yeah, this is my thing. What that in itself, you know, you don't own the product. You didn't create the product. You're just using somebody else's situation. You know, you're just being an intermediary. And it's using something else that isn't necessarily in your possession as leverage. I think that can never go understated. But then again, this also goes to a mindset, the behavioral mindset, where getting it out the mud, where I feel like, you know, I get this badge of honor for suffering or for not taking an efficient route. I whatever the case may be, I hear it often, but it's like, no, you know, you got tools for a reason. Don't use your hand to hammer a nail in when you have a hammer sitting right there. So,
and it's about going and finding those tools, because a lot of the limiting factors are they don't know there are tools. You know, like, and that's the sad reality. Yeah, that's the sad reality of it.
And, you know, I have to agree with you, Danielle. They don't know, and they don't have the tools. Like Sheila mentioned, and I'm really big on don't use your personal money to fund your business, right? You'll be surprised how many individuals don't even know how to obtain business credit. And I'm telling you guys, I go to networking events all the time, and 85 and 95% of the entrepreneurs are using their money for their business. And in the process, they're ruining their credit because they're maxing out their cards and, you know, to fund their business. So I'm saying this to say that we do have the resources. We just don't know how to go get the resources, because guess what? It wasn't taught in school, and it's just not sitting on every corner for us to go and get it. You know, there are resources out there. You just need to know how to go get the resources.
And be
That will
receptive to it.
and show you how to do
And that's
it.
why this
Then
podcast.
you have to meet with somebody like a Breeze that's actually going to take you from
Yes.
conception to the resource and not tell you how to get the resource or show, you know what I mean? Because I think a lot of people get mixed up with that, where they hire a person that promised them this thing at the end, and there's nothing at the end. Like, yeah, you got me the information, but I still didn't do or have or whatever. And you get, we get jived a lot, with promises from what people say they can do for you versus what actually can be done. And that person know what they actually can do. Like, I probably can't get you a loan, but what I can do is improve your credit by 10% or 100% or whatever,
And
and
get
this
you ready
person
for that
comes in
loan.
with this to get you ready for that loan. But the person coming in with the idea that when I leave out, I'm leaving out with $100,000. But I didn't tell you that. What I said was I was going to help you, your credit go from this to that. And that's going to position you to get that loan. Now you need to be willing to take step 2, which is the paperwork or whatever. You know what I mean? And I think I missed that in the communication.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do have a question for Breeze's business, though.
Go ahead.
We got into a conversation. So Breeze, your book, your writing company, can you talk to our audience about how important it is to actually write a book that complements their business or that, talks about their framework or their processes? Do you talk to entrepreneurs about the importance of that?
Hey, quick thing. Hey, Breeze, how many books have you written, Breeze?
I've written 63, but I publish. Well, anyway, yeah, I've written 63 myself. To answer your question, Sheila, you say, do I talk to entrepreneurs about the importance of writing? Restate that question for me. I don't think I quite got it.
So let me ask it this way. Do you think it's important for an entrepreneur to write a book?
No.
Okay.
I think it's important for an entrepreneur to write a book if the entrepreneur sees that book as an avenue to facilitate something. See, I write because that's what I do. If you're a cook, let's say, here's what I do know, or what I can share as far as publishing goes. If you are an entrepreneur, and this applies to everybody on the panel, regardless of what you do, regardless of whether you're a loan officer, a credit repair company, or a tax specialist, a counselor, real estate, whatever you do, here's the one thing you have to understand. In today's world, information sells faster and better and bigger than anything. So if whatever you're doing is making you money, imagine how much money you would be making if you converted that process into information and sold the information. For example, let's say you had a restaurant or a food truck or something like that, and you were selling hot dogs or pie. How many pies can you bake in a day? How many can you sell in a day versus writing out the recipe and putting it online for 99 cents and selling it to millions of people in an hour? You see what I'm saying? Information sells faster. So that's why publishing is important to me. It's not for everybody, but it is an avenue to gain quick access to marketplaces, an avenue to gain quick access to resources. As far as OPM, other people's money, Johnny is absolutely right. There are all types of resources out there where you can leverage. And by the way, I didn't even want to get this far ahead this early, but leverage is very important, because what separates the truly successful entrepreneurs from the rest of the crowd is the understanding of leverage. The unsuccessful entrepreneur, and when I say unsuccessful, oh, Jay, I just got to blow this up, brother. Can I blow this up? Look at your neighbor and say, can that brother blow it up? Let me blow this.
I'm scared to know what that means.
let me blow this up for you. Okay, let me put it in the proper perspective. Before you start a business, I said earlier, before you start a business, you should know exactly what that business is, know everything you can possibly know about it before you ever open the doors. Well, here's the most important thing you need to know in that field. You have to know what the objective is. You don't get in the car and get on I-75 just randomly driving, hoping you wind up somewhere. No, you know exactly where you're going before you crank the car up. You say, well, I'm going to Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Florida, whatever. You have to have a destination in place before you move forward. So that's the first thing. When you start your business, what is your destination? So when you determine what your destination is, that helps you decide what your ideal of success is. Success is not, success cannot be defined by one person. It's a subjective term. So success depends on who you ask. Your definition of success might not be mine. So my definition of success has nothing to do with money. I never said I need X amount of dollars to determine I'm successful, or I need X amount of buildings or businesses or whatever. I need a diamond watch. That's not how I define success. My definition of success is when I get to a point in my life where I can live comfortably on my own terms without ever having to work for a dollar. I don't want to work for money. So if you ask me now, how many hours a week do I work? I would tell you. How many hours a week do I work? I would tell you 0. I don't work at all, ever. Now, what I do is more recreational, which means if I edit a book for you, I'm doing it and you're paying me, but it's not work. I love doing it. I don't do anything I don't love doing. I literally wake up every day when I want to, do what I want to, go where I want, and money is never a factor because I don't work for money. It works for me. That's leverage. So when we understand the power of leverage, let me tell you something. If you talk about automobiles, the biggest name in automotive history is Henry Ford. But Henry Ford never worked at the plant. You know who worked at the plant? Your mama, my mama, your daddy, my daddy. That's leverage. You feel me? Leverage is the ability to utilize resources to obtain an objective, to use other people or capital to obtain an objective. This is where loans and lines of credit come in. This is where investors come in. This is where stock comes in. When you see companies selling stock, and once again, I mean, no disrespect if I step on some toes as I talk, but I talk it like I see it. If you see people saying, hey, I can teach you how to invest in stock, to me, that's not the guy I want to know. I don't want you to tell me how to go invest my money in somebody else's company. Tell me how to get them to invest in my company. Tell me how to, you see what I'm saying? Because we're talking about leverage. I want to utilize their money to make money. I don't want to use my money to make them rich. Because when you buy stock in any corporation, Microsoft, Walmart, or whatever, guess what the CEO is doing? He's sitting on a yacht somewhere smoking a cigar laughing because he's leveraging your money. And all them employees at Amazon warehouses across the country, Jeff Bezos is leveraging their time, leveraging their energy, leveraging their work ethic. That's leverage. That's what Johnny meant. That's why his name is Johnny Leverage. Give me an amen.
Oh, Lord. In scripture.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I want to go back to why I asked that question, because we talked about processes in the beginning, right? Having a process or framework for your business. You talked about the whole information, selling your information. In the process of writing a book, which I went through, you actually have to go down granular. You have to think about what you're writing, what you're delivering, how it's coming across. And in that process, I think you gain insight about your business, what you have to offer. It's really a great process for a service. I'm a service provider to do, because it's like it's going to help you identify what services you're delivering. So I have a book coming out. It's called Stop It Now, right? It's a framework to help with procrastinating. But I have to go through, I had to say, okay, what's step one? What's step two? What's my framework? Like, how am I going to communicate this to them? What tone am I going to take? And it really changed the game for me in my delivery as the individual that's delivering that content. I can tell you step by step. Now, because I have that, I can put the processes in place. I can like have the bigger idea for what Shaping Solutions is going to do, what Access is going to do, what role do we play in this specific thing, my 23rd chromosome, my blueprint, the thing that Sheila feels like he has to deliver to the world. You know what I mean? And writing that book was very challenging, but it did that. I am a PhD candidate, so I'll have my doctor's degree in business psychology by the end of this year. So we're going through our research stage, my IRBs. Reading that research, right? Going through the IRB process, like it's such a granular process that it has made me so efficient in psychology. It has made me so efficient in looking at psychology and people's problems and mindsets and reading all of this theory to kind of, I have to regurgitate that into this doctoral thing. So writing a book or getting a ghostwriter, because now you got to communicate with them, right? So you may not be the writer, but now you got a ghostwriter and they're going to interview you and it's going to make you think about what you want to put in this book and this framework that you want to put in. And then to Breeze's point, now you have this. If you don't want to buy my services, then just take my book. You know what I mean?
Amen.
Like, you know, if you don't want to use, at least I'm still going to make money. And that's that's called recurring income. You do that thing one time and it's always going to be there. And that's why I asked the question, Breeze, because I heard you say you had all of these legs to your company, like the publishing and the ghostwriting and all of that. And for our listeners, do you think that's a good path for them to take, especially service providers, you know, who may get stuck, like getting a ghostwriter and really kind of putting your framework or your solution that you want to provide to the world, writing that out, because it's really going to help you, in my opinion, it's really going to help you be more efficient in your craft and what your deliverables are.
And I think what you were getting at, what I learned from Breeze is, you know, that established you as your subject matter expert. Like you said, putting all that work, because you said it, people are scared of the details for some reason. You know, going back to the previous question, things fail because you don't want to get into the details. And when you really start to think about executing and writing a book and getting into those details, you got to have exactly what Bree said. Where are you going? What message are you trying to convey? What is the intention of you writing this book? Is it to further your business? Is it just to, you know, sell something? So no, I like the concept of writing a book for your business to help establish yourself as
the expert.
Yeah. Right.
I'd like to look at it.
Well, I was just going to say real quickly, as a publisher, of course, I would love to say, yes, y'all should write books, but that's not the honest answer. You know, I would love the business. Publish. As a matter of fact, Sheila, you should have hollered at me. But the honest answer is no. I don't think it's mandatory that you need to write it. But I do understand your point. But I will say, whether you write a book or just get you a notebook from Walmart and go through the same process, just getting it out of you helps you study it. You know, as you write, you learn. Writing is a mechanism of self-teaching. So I agree with you to that extent, Sheila. Go ahead, Jay.
I look at it from this. My thing so what I do, there's a lot of educating. The first thing I should have said I do is financial education, because, you know, we're covering concepts that really aren't taught even in college, even for people who are lawyers and CPAs. So whenever I wrote a book when I was first really getting started, and it was called What is Life Insurance? And it was because I needed to educate the people. And I say this for anybody who, if your business involves a complex solution, something other than, I need to get some water, and even with that, there's still different areas where you can educate your clients to let them know the benefits. It's the exact reason we write copy, we make social media posts, So if you take, an approach of, I want to inform people, I want to educate, I want to make you an educated buyer. So that way, when you come and you're looking for resources, then you already know, hey, this is the guy who gave me the information. He told me about all the options that were available. And I think that's for any business owner, that, especially if you're B2C and you're have something for just individuals as clients, you definitely could benefit from having some type of literature. Now, does it have to be a full, Tony Robbins 1,000-page book? No. But, how many different situations can you have, like a 17? My book was only 19 pages. I explained life insurance in 19 pages, and it was just something that I give to my clients to say, or prospects, like, hey, thank you for, taking the time to just have a conversation with me. We have our next appointment. Here, take this book. Read over it in your spare time. I cover some concepts that maybe, and then for me, it was a qualifier. It let me know who was serious about, wanting to proceed with my product and my service versus who was just going through the motions because they felt somewhat obligated and weren't real enough to say, you know what, I'm not really interested right now. So, there are different ways that it can help. And then, hey, let's give Bree some business while we at it.
Right. And to your point, the education part, like the scaling of that part, like you got this 19-page, book that you're giving to your client, right? But it's a lot of people out there, like on Amazon. I'm sure Breeze probably could speak to this, that you can just put that on a paperback or a downloadable thing, and it could be a lead generator now, you know what I mean, and get you emails, or it could, you could sell it for 99 cents and market it globally, right? Get your finances in order, right? But now you have this residual income coming in off of your intellectual property that you ain't working for. It's just cha-ching, 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 right?
Yeah,
that will require investment in a company. I mean, like talking to a Breeze and saying, hey, I got this 19-page book I want to publish. You know what I mean? And put it in the hands of as many people I can. And I can put it in 1 million people's hands for $1 and I'm made $1 million, right? How can I put this in 1 million people's hands, right?
I call it business layers. Yes, you got to have all the layers. You want the money, fill in all those layers.
Yeah. Because you took the time, and I get it. I get it that we're doing it to educate our people, but just to kind of think about more income streams.
So I see we got what's the next industry on the rise, and I think it ties in with this. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna say blockchain. I'm gonna say that blockchain is the next fintech. That is gonna be the next really, really big disruptor that we're gonna see because
break that down a little bit. You say
I was just about to say, I ain't gonna act like I'm smarter. Go ahead, explain that.
So just to give it in its most basic form, it's gonna be a new way of accounting. And in the sense of, when you deal with a bank, if let's say I want to send money to somebody else, I want to send money to Breeze, I want to send money to Sheila. The bank's an intermediary. So they have the ledger. They have access to all the information. Blockchain, like Bitcoin, it allows the ledger. You can go verify with the transaction. You can prevent double spending. You take safeguards against fraud. But at its core basis is being able to share information, even sensitive information in an encrypted form instantaneously. There's a cryptocurrency called Ripple, and it's one of the only ones that I actually am a fan of, and I'm not giving any advice. I'm just saying I'm a fan of it. But it's one of its main purposes is facilitating instantaneous transfers as far as between banks go, monetary transfers. So if somebody who's in Mexico and they want to send, somebody in America wants to send money to their family in Mexico, we're talking about solutions that are going to allow this to happen within minutes rather than, I don't know if anybody's ever sent a wire transfer. You got to wait a little bit of time for that to happen. So, we live in an immediate gratification based society, and a lot of times it's for the wrong things. But now we're going to transfer into where this can be used. I know, Allahme, you're in credit, so fintech as far as lenders go. You know, I imagine that there are a lot of people who get more success dealing with these, you know, online lenders rather than the traditional banks that you could go walk in and, you know, yeah, you can go play the relationship situation, but depending on what you're doing, it may be it's lower restrictions. So I think that digital aspect of the finance industry, it's the reason why we see Bitcoin tanking. And then all of a sudden the big banks that said, you know, we didn't want any parts of it, or it's horrible. Now all of a sudden Jamie Dimon is a fan of it, or whoever it is. You see they get these big positions. They believed in it in the beginning.
Yep.
They understood the power of information being shared in an instant. We need to understand the value of that. So, and I was just gonna say, with the NFT space of it, you're able to, it's like another form of ownership. You know, like instead of going to the copyright office, there are a lot of artists now who they'll go and put their projects on Ethereum, on the blockchain, and, you know, regardless of whether or not I go put it in the copyright office, you can still verify that this is mine. I'm the originator. I created this. It's timestamped. It's you know, a consensus mechanism involved. So once you have that, and we start shaping the ideas that we have for our future products and services, and we start incorporating that into it, I think that's when we'll really be able to create some really transcendent opportunities.
Look, and I gotta piggyback on this one and it's actually playing off exactly what Bree said and what he said. In my opinion, it's I would call it individualized education, because I think there's a rise in acceptance of the education that we have was not sufficient. And so you have a lot of people putting it on the game, because like we said, there's so much information that's out there that people don't have. You know, you see all these people, everybody got a course. Why does everybody have a course? Because there's so much information that we weren't told. And I definitely think that is, you know, people ain't gonna want to go to college. I'm gonna want to go buy Sheila's course. You know, I'm gonna buy the book from Sheila, and I'm gonna get the game from the people that I know are successful, rather than feeding into this archaic, you know, yes, it works. I'm not gonna knock it, but we all know it ain't for everybody. And the way it's structured and implemented, it's not conducive for everybody. So that individualized education piece, where it's like, okay, we're going straight to the horse's mouth. So people writing books and creating that content based on the information that they have. And because, like, if Johnny wrote a book on exactly what he just said, he's making money off of sharing that information on how to execute that. So I think that, I don't know what industry that, you know, falls under.
Daniel, you remember that the last time I was on and I mentioned a DAO, what was a decentralized autonomous organization? Mm-hmm. And this goes back to even when the first topic when I hopped in and we were talking about, you know, firing employees. The truth of the matter is if you look at the trends, didn't Walmart, I think in Tennessee, not too long ago, just implement, you know, their first self-driving trucks? I just saw something in Amazon where they now have autonomous robots. So, you know, we're talking about, you know, workforce or whatnot. The future is that the human workforce is going to probably get replaced. And I mentioned the decentralized autonomous organization because we mentioned having managers, but this is essentially turning that blockchain aspect, the smart contracts, that if this, then this happens, all the parameters that you want your company ran by is now going to be run by a piece of code, an algorithm, or a group of algorithms in each different sector of your business. So this is a very disruptive industry that, you know, they're working feverishly to try to, you know, improve and optimize. And I think that for all the entrepreneurs on this call, you know, any way that you can find out how, even if we're marketing, right? I just got schooled the other day as far as how, you know, inefficient I was using social media. Like, you could be doing this, you know, did you know these tools are available? Did you know you don't even have to write copy? Just come up with an idea. And it's this AI thing. And there are 4 different ones that have different algorithms. You have all these opportunities to advance rapidly and exponentially. And I think that it's worth each and every one of, you know, our time to explore and see where in our industry does this new technology fit in. Where can we strategically, figure out like, okay, I used to be in music and I was an audio engineer, and the biggest thing that I noticed was like my version of what was hot in like rap and hip hop when I was like in my early 20s in like 2010 and 2011, that wasn't what the case was in 2017, 2018. Times change. You can't fight that. You're either going to be on the end of that old guy that's complaining about, back in my day, things was like this and this and the other, and you guys just have an ineffective argument, or you could just keep reinventing yourself like P. Diddy and staying relevant and making sure you're always in
the only thing constant is change.
Yes, it is.
Man, this has been a great conversation, man. It really has. So, listen, I got a hot topic for you guys, man. You guys ready for this?
10 minutes left. Get it.
Yeah. Okay. So, a hot topic, guys. Let me share this up here. I know we touched on this before. We're going to hit it again real quick here. You guys see that?
Hold on. Hot topic before able
yes.
to 18.
Oh, that's easy. That's easy. I would definitely say, it's an expletive in there. Quit effing up, wake up, realize that, how great you are. And I definitely would have told myself to stop hanging around a certain, groups of people if I could go back. And I feel like that would have made the biggest difference.
Well, I don't know what I would, if out at 18, I was a little, even if I would go back and tell myself something at 18, I think my 18-year-old self would be like, I got this. Like, we good. I hear you, we'll get there, And it wasn't because I was stubborn back then. I just feel like I was very independent, right? I made money. I was educated. So yeah, I think so. If I was to tell myself anything, it would be like, stop taking life personal. Like, it ain't about you like that. Like, people doing what they need to do because that's what they want to do, and let it just roll off your shoulder, right? Stop trying to figure out other people and just focus on you, how you feel and how you gonna overcome it. Like, stop trying to fix people, I think. And I probably wouldn't have heard myself, but
it's at least worth a try.
It is because I do feel like I have mentors in my life. When I think about, I'm 43, and when I think about my life, I'm so grateful. People say, would you live your life? Do the same life? I'll do it all over again. Like, I wouldn't change anything, because the rose that's blossoming now, like, I love her. And at that point in my life, it was truly just me stemming and getting the thorns and growing the leaves. But the process that unfolded from it, I feel like there were people in my life that told me what I needed to hear. I just wasn't ready for that fragrance yet. And when it was time for me to process that information, I had access to it.
I got a question though. Do you think it would still be the same if it was you? Like, just psychologically, right? It's one thing to say it's somebody else, but like literally you like like if you're talking in the mirror and the mirror starts saying, you look at a vision of yourself and your lips are moving, you hear your voice, and it's you. And you still think that, taking that into
account, that's what I'm saying. 43. So what would the 43-year-old Sheila have to say to the 18-year-old Sheila? Because that's what I'm thinking, right? What would the 43-year-old? Yeah, I'm saying I would say, I know life looks hard now, but you're gonna be okay. I think it would just be more of a reassurance, right? Because that was my struggle. Like, is stuff gonna work out? Am I gonna do it? You know what I mean?
You wouldn't tell yourself to invest in Google or nothing?
Look, you getting too detailed. Right? Like I'm saying, I'm about a personal
So I thought that, right? So when he asked the
I'm messing
question,
with you. I'm playing.
I'm telling you, Johnny, when I saw it come across, it was like invest in Amazon. But then I'm thinking, what the 18-year-old Sheila invested in Amazon? I probably wouldn't, because I was told to invest in a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? I'm saying, even in the hood, I grew up on 4th and Johnson, and we had a lot of old heads that knew stuff. You know what I mean? And they would always drop like gems on us. You know what I mean?
You ain't lying. You was in the hood.
Yeah, I was
that was the hood.
Yes.
Door like that.
And we always had gems dropped on us. So it was never. I never lacked. I guess like that. I lacked confidence coming up, like the confidence to do what I know I needed to do. So at that time, even if I said Sheila, go invest in Amazon, my confidence at 18, 19, 20 probably been like, I know you said this, but are you for real about Amazon? Like I already would have questioned it. But I get,
because you know yourself.
Because I know me, yeah. And I don't have regrets now. Like I don't feel like I want to change my life. Like even though it was tough and hard, and we seen a lot of people get killed and a whole lot of stuff happened on 4th and Johnson, it all worked out for the good for me. You know what I mean? And I'm still, blossoming. So I feel like my life
is exactly right.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. Don't mind me.
No, because I get this question as a therapist. Like I ask people that, and they like, "Oh, if I can go back, I would do this." But then I have to say, "But what Johnny had heard? What you had heard yourself, Johnny?
Yeah.
What you had taken
at that point in time in my life, I think I was a bit of a narcissist. So I think I definitely would have listened to myself.
Like, oh man, this dude dropping gems.
Like, hold on, who is this handsome fella here telling me? You know what? I'm listening to you, man.
That is funny. What about you guys? Talk to the 18-year-old you. How that conversation going?
Well, for me, as Sheila touched on a little bit, I'm the same way. I regret. I have no regrets whatsoever. So the only thing I would change in my life, and by the way, I wouldn't change any per se, because to change anything means that the you that you are now would not be who you are now. Everything that happened in your life led to you becoming who you are in this moment. So to say you would go back and change anything technically means you're unhappy with who you are now. Amen. So
hey, I'm gonna be honest.
So I wouldn't change anything. But here's what I would say to my 18-year-old self. I would say, don't get no curl activator on mama's car seat. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't say that. But but seriously, what I would say is appreciate the gift of time. The greatest asset, the greatest thing we have in this life is time. One thing you can't undo, you can't change it. So you have to appreciate the gift of time. And I'm saying that because no matter how much money we make, no matter how many girlfriends and boyfriends and kids we accumulate along the way, we often overlook the obvious, which is at some point, grandmama gonna die, mama gonna die, auntie gonna die, whatever. So I think the thing we all take for granted is the time. Time. Because once they're gone, you start thinking about, man, I could have went over there a few more times. I could have sat and talked to the elders and heard some of them stories. See, that's the one I think everybody on the planet would do if they could talk to their 18-year-old self. Say, look, dummy, don't take time for granted. So that's it for me. Don't take time for granted. That is what I would say.
I vote for 3 drop the mics today. The drop the mic award goes
to we got a new contest going on.
Hey, I'm gonna start doing that. Drop the mic moment. start counting those, man. Now you're arguing with that. You know, you can't even say nothing.
Look, I was about to say I wanted to put my 2 pennies in. I don't even want to follow that, man.
Wow. All right, so you know. No. What would you say to yourself? Anybody?
So for me, I agree with both Breeze and Sheila, where it's like I don't want to change anything, but I would just put this bug in my ear and say, trust your instincts. Trust your instincts. Because the instincts are something that we've developed over millions of years. You know, we evolved with these instincts for a reason. And a lot of my better decisions were made when I trusted my instincts. So, you know, just putting that bug in the air, because like you said, that direct feedback, you know, 18, ain't nobody listening to nothing. But to plant that seed, that hopefully that I would, like Sheila said, that seed would mature quicker than what it did, you know, you would have been in a better situation. But if it didn't, I would know, like, okay, I need to trust the instincts that I know and trust myself when I make decisions that, yes, you're making the right decision, or that is the right decision that you need to make.
I hear that.
Be okay with it. You know, life goes on, like you said. Sometimes we waste time, like Bree said, with the guilt of a decision you made. Okay, you made it. It's over. Move on. Let's move on. You know, you're going to be all right. Everything's always working for you good. You know.
Amen.
Yes, you can.
You want to ask that, or?
Yeah, I'm sitting here pondering. I got all kinds of things, but one thing I can say, me talking to an 18-year-old now, where I am, and my level of thinking, and I'm close to you, Breeze. I'm almost 60 years old, so just so you'll know that. I would say, as in talking to my 18-year-old.
Black don't crack, man.
Talking to my 18-year-old self, I would say, get under your dad and ask a lot of questions. That's what I would tell my 18-year-old self. Yes, get under your dad and ask a lot of questions. Because at that time, I was 18. I was kind of shy, very close with my dad, but there's a lot of questions that I weren't able to answer, and he passed away when I was 23. So that's what I would tell my 18-year-old self.
Wow. Deep. Now listen, we all are entrepreneurs.
Man, I feel like the black sheep. I feel like the only person that I feel like I'm the only one that's like, you know what? I knew I shouldn't have done that, and I did it anyway. And I did say, my mom used to tell me all the time, you know, experience is a wonderful teacher, but it run up a high bill.
I like that.
But, see, the question was kind of like a setup question, right? Because we're all entrepreneurs, so it means we're going 100 miles an hour a lot of time. So the thing about it is to stop or slow down and enjoy the journey. That's what it's about.
Absolutely.
Slow down and enjoy the journey, man. You're going to have a good time, man. You can be able to look back on there 20, 30 years down the line, man. I remember when I went through there, whether they're saying, man, what happened? I'm 80 years old. What happened? You know, you done ran your whole life. Slow down, smell the roses, guys. Man, this has been a great show. What's the little man's name? What's his name?
Levi.
Levi. What's up, Levi?
Say what's up. Say what's up.
I actually went to school with him.
That would be weird.
He's an old soul, man. I'm telling you, you may have. You may have. He is an extremely old soul.
You've been here before.
I think my grandma said he has.
Listen to your grandmother.
Yeah. All right, man. Listen, man. I respect you guys' time, man. Appreciate you guys coming on. And listen, I didn't have to do nothing. You guys did it all. I was just listening. I'm there hustling. So I learned a little bit from everybody tonight. Everybody. Thank you guys for your time.
Y'all make sure y'all tune into Y'all make sure y'all tune into our podcast. So Danielle and I, we have Shaping Solutions that airs on Monday. We go live on Monday, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We did our first show yesterday, Mindset, how to develop the right mindset. And so you guys can go watch that, share it, and just follow up. Or if it's some shows that you think we should do, that's around life, love, interactions, focus, and energy. That's what life stands for. Or some problems that you think we can help shape the solution for and through a conversation, just let us know. And you can follow us 7:30.
Send me the invitational link, and I'll see if I can come there. One of the things I want to leave with is this. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there who are struggling and trying to figure out their way. Not only do I test and not only do I guide people, but this year on December the 23rd, my company, my team, and I, we've decided to also help by giving away 3 grants of $25,000 each to entrepreneurs. There's no criteria other than you have to have your documentation. You have to either be an LLC or a corporation, S Corp, C Corp, whatever. So you just have to be a legitimate entrepreneur. We're giving away a business trust? Yeah, absolutely. So other than that, there's no other criteria whatsoever, and it will be random. We will be randomly just observing and seeing what we think is needed out there, and we'll select 3 people to give this to and just give it to them. And they can receive it however they want to receive it, a check, a cash direct deposit, food stamps, beer bottles, whatever.
That's awesome.
Say the right entrepreneur can flip any one of those.
It may be product for somebody.
Yeah, I want you guys to understand the reason we're doing this. Not only to give back, but because too often people hear us. And like I said earlier, we're talking, but we're not showing. They say, everything they said, Tony Robbins will tell you a lot of things, but he ain't going to give you a nickel. He hasn't helped you facilitate your dream. So I think it's important that as teachers, we not only teach, but let's show by example. And by the way, the law of karma works all the time. What you put out there in the atmosphere comes back. So I ain't worried about that. Right. Anyway, I got to go. Thank you for your time, folks. I'm glad to see all of y'all. I wish I had my hair like Sheila's, man. That is dope as hell.
And Allahme, you have anything you got going on that you want to promote?
Yeah, I always got something that I want to promote.
Okay.
If you want to structure your business, right, have your business looking good going into the new year, this is the time to do it. You got 6 months left in the year. We can help you get your business to the next level. You can follow me on Facebook, Allahme Dixon. The same on IG, Allahme Dixon. My website is below my name, www.credit909.com. You can schedule a consultation and we can get you started.
Excellent. What about you, Danielle?
I'm Danielle MacArthur with DCDR Solutions. We're doing business and entrepreneurship coaching. And as Sheila said, I'm very excited about this podcast that we have going on Mondays. So we definitely want people to tune in and take part in that. And you can find me at DCDR Solutions on all platforms.
We're doing the network thing now, guys. So Mid-City Network, like it, share it, subscribe it. Appreciate you guys. Look forward to working with you. Anything I can do to help, reach out to me. All right, you guys have a great rest of the evening. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
MCA Back Office aims to help real estate wholesalers who have their 9-to-5 jobs, those who are busy with their businesses or family responsibilities, and even help students. MCA Back Office gives you leads, research comps, calculate offers for you. Basically, MCA be your back office. You can find them on Facebook. Just search MCA Back Office.